Welcome, friends and fans, to Fright Night, courtesy of GalaxyCon Live, where we're bringing you convention-style entertainment directly to you. And today, we indeed have the cast of the 1985 horror classic Fright Night, and now is the time for all of you in our chat room to begin typing in your questions. Immediately after this, you will have the opportunity to talk to them directly through our private chat options, as well as purchase autographs and personalized video recordings, all of which are available now at GalaxyCon.com. And without further ado, let's bring out our guests. First, she is an actress and director whose credits include Married with Children, Mad TV, Dharma and Greg, and today she joins us to talk about her performance as the lovely Amy Peterson. Please welcome Amanda Bearse.
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing, young lady?
I'm doing fine. I'm sorry, are you talking to me?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
I'm kidding. I'm great. Thank you. Actually, it's been a fortunate time for me. So I'm one of the lucky ones. So I hope everyone out there who's watching is safe and well and happy and good and glad to have you part of this.
And we are so glad to have you once again back on the GalaxyCon stage, albeit the virtual one. So next, he is an actor and writer whose credits include 976 Evil, Amazing Stories, and one of my personal favorite movies from the 80s, Heaven Help Us. Today he joins us to talk about his breakout role as Evil Ed. Please welcome Stephen Geoffreys.
Oh, hi. You caught me in the middle of my writing. But hi, everyone. How's everything?
We are good, boss. How are you doing?
Not bad, you know. I mean, it's a good time to reflect and, you know, kind of let go of all the stuff that doesn't really matter. And everything seems to be working out, I think, for everybody.
Absolutely. You know, so many numerous projects in the garage that everybody is just jumped back onto.
Yeah.
Indeed. And next, he is an actor with a tremendous body of work. Credits include Herman's Head, Grosse Pointe, and Justified. Today, we are going to talk to him about his role as the reluctant vampire slayer, Charley Brewster. Please welcome William Ragsdale.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, boss. How are you doing?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see you again.
Sporting the poster in the background?
I am. I thought I'd make sure that people get the reference, but it's probably overkill, but, you know, when in Rome.
So what else to do with you?
I carry it with me wherever I go, by the way. It goes in the car. It goes in the subway.
I've seen you before, haven't I? It just wham.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe.
And finally, he is an actor of acclaimed projects that include Dog Day Afternoon, Child's Play, The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Princess Bride. Today we are talking about his role as the apple-eating vampire, Jerry Dandrige. Please welcome Chris Sarandon.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
I forgot my apple.
That's all right. Quite all right, sir. How are you in your part of the world?
Oh, brilliant. Well, you know, as well as can be expected under circumstances, but certainly, as Amanda so articulately put it, we are lucky. We are the lucky ones that are people who are much less fortunate than we are. So we're riding this out. We're riding this out with faith and hope and the belief that once the chaos has calmed down, that there will be some peace and justice.
And change.
And change.
I think we can all agree upon that. Well, something else that changed for me in 1985 was going to see a horror movie called Fright Night, something about vampires, and walking out with my friends going, holy crap, that was awesome. And to that, it brings us all here today. I would love to hear how you each individually got involved with Fright Night, your audition process and all the hoops you had to jump through.
Okay, since I was introduced first, I'll go first.
You go, girl.
I had not been living in Los Angeles even a year when I auditioned for Fright Night. And it was a very typical type of audition where you go one time, and then if they like you, they'll bring you back in again. As I recall, there weren't a lot of callbacks. Sometimes it goes on and on. But Jackie Birch, who was the casting director, had me in, and then I came in to meet with Tom Holland, the writer-director. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was 26 years old, still looking rather young at that time, and sitting next to real 16 and 17-year-old girls going, well, I don't know. But because that character is written so beautifully, he has such a lovely arc, they needed someone, I think, that could sort of go beyond 16, 17 years old. So that's how it happened for me.
Great. Who wants to jump in next?
I'll go next. And I was living in San Francisco, and I just finished drama school, and I had met Jackie Birch, the casting woman, a bit previously for the movie Mask that Eric Stoltz ended up doing, that she had cast. And so I was out of acting school, and I called her and I said, I'm going to come visit LA. Would you want to go to lunch or whatever you're supposed to do to acting, to casting people? She said no. She said no, I'm not going to go to lunch, but come in and read for me for this role because I've got something that you might be right for. And that ended up being Fright Night. So I drove down in my beat up Celica and read for it the first time, and they liked it. And then I ended up coming back down 3 or 4 times and reading for it, and it seemed to go well every time, but I had really not much to compare it to. So and then finally I got the call on Halloween night 1984 or something like that they had selected me for the job. So I was thrilled, and the rest is history, I guess.
Indeed.
Did you go trick-or-treating?
I was living in the Haight Ashbury, and so yeah, every night was trick or treating. I guess really,
I'm wondering how you're going to segue that. Okay.
That's nice. Steve, how'd this come for you?
Well, Amanda and Billy mentioned Jackie Birch, the casting director, and she's like the real deal as far as Hollywood casting directors. She does it, I'm sure, because she loves it, and she, as far as how it worked out for me, I was inadvertently sent to meet her to audition for, I think it was Weird Science, because my agent accidentally sent me instead of Anthony Michael Hall to audition, and she's like, "You're not Anthony Michael Hall," and no, this is starting off really good. And
did you guys know that?
But we ended up chatting for like half an hour, and and then a few months later, I was in Palm Springs with Amanda, and she had remembered me from that interview, and her brain really was working, to get the best people together, and obviously she did. And so, yeah, she remembered me from that mistake my agent made. And I read for Tom and her, and it was a good mistake.
Right?
Not a mistake. Not a mistake.
Indeed. So, Chris, you were actually pals with the director Tom, weren't you?
No, I didn't know Tom at all. I'd never met Tom, never heard of Tom, in fact. And what happened was that at the time, since I'm the kind of the geezer of the group, I had done a fair amount of stuff leading up to it, and so I got sent the script. And I still remember the day. I was in my apartment in New York City on West 79th Street, and there was a script in a manila envelope on my desk, and it said Fright Night. And I thought, no, I'm far too important an actor to do a movie called Fright Night. I had been in The Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens. I had been, I've worked with Al Pacino, and I was really full of myself. And so I pulled it out, and I said, look, these people really want to talk to me about this. So I owed them the courtesy of reading it. And as soon as I read it, literally page 2 or 3, I was hooked. And when I finished, I called my agent and I said, I don't care what the name of the movie is. I got to meet this guy, whoever this Tom Holland is. Hollander. So they flew me out to LA very courteously. And I sat and met Tom and Herb Jaffe. And Tom sat there and literally described the movie to me shot by shot. from the opening credits to the end of the movie. And after he finished, I didn't know him, but when he finished, it was a bravura performance, by the way, as we know Tom can give. And I said, "Where do I sign?" I mean, literally, I said that. Stupidly, but I said it.
Tipped your hand a little bit.
I tipped right away. The negotiations were very short.
I'll consider it. Yeah, nothing like that. Yeah, I got my movies crossed. It was Child's Play. You had gotten tight with him at that point, and they brought that. That was my bad. So, what a roller coaster ride! Most of you spent a lot of time in the makeup chair. What was that like?
Long.
Yeah.
Billy didn't spend a minute in the makeup chair.
Nothing I could do.
He made it out.
I think total 10 minutes for the entire shoot, which was what, 2 months?
He walked in, they sprayed him, and he walked out.
Yeah. A little powder.
A little long.
Yeah.
I had the least of it of those of us who had to do that, and my full blown, like in the poster behind Billy, that pretty little face, was about 6 hours. But I think I only had to do it a couple of times. Because it was literally for that one moment of reveal, and that was a last minute add-on. Tom, great about telling that story. He just needed something. He just needed that moment, and threw this task to the very talented and wild makeup special effects guys, and overnight they created this mold and these dentures and all of this, and there you have it.
Who created it? Did Steve Johnson or did Kenny?
Randy Cook tells the story that he was the one who was, but I don't know which of them was.
Who tells it?
Randall Cook.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He said that he had reluctantly, agreed to try and do something, and then it showed up on the poster the next time he saw it. So he was a little concerned.
It was effective. It did what it needed to do, and
looked great.
Yeah.
And Amanda, did I read correctly that you kept part of your makeup accoutrement?
Yeah, my tits.
Yes.
Tits and ass. No, they didn't give me an ass. And we won't go into who bought that at a convention one time. Remember that? No, maybe you don't. It was actually, was it the 20th or 25th anniversary is when we,
It was 2000.
Coming to take me away.
10 or 11 or something, yeah.
I don't know, had it been 20 years or 25 years since we'd seen each other?
Really?
Yeah.
And then we started to do these.
Tell them where you kept your boobs.
On my closet shelf in a See's candy box. And then one time I just thought, well, maybe I'll just put them at my table. And
charge for well, never mind.
It was a very interesting fella that purchased them.
Oh.
I don't like to think too hard about it.
No.
So,
Could have been the guy that wrote the novelization.
I wish I'd kept my baby fangs though, because they were kind of sexy. The first pair, whatever.
What about your makeup, Steve?
Well, it's not fun, but I was focused on how the quality of the whole thing was. There was so much integrity, and the people working on me were so talented and so excited, and so it kind of lessened the pain a little bit. It was a lot of hours, and the worst part was, after the filming had ended for the day and everybody else was going home, and you're stuck there with all that orange stuff, and it just that kind of got to me. But I knew it was such a high quality project, and the people working on it were so talented that it definitely made it a lot more bearable.
How many days did you have to do the werewolf stuff?
Oh, gosh,
because that was pretty intricate.
The cross and the teeth and stuff, like at the beginning, maybe 2 weeks altogether. Depending on the stage of transformation, right. But That wasn't bad at all. It was the last part where I transformed. That was mostly done in post-production when you guys had all left. And, I was just sitting in that marina warehouse, with these crazy guys putting all this stuff on me. It still haunts me. It was the most bizarre, weird, strange thing.
It was kind of weird for me. I think I had to go about 4:30 a.m. to that warehouse, and sort of those AV kind of guys that just were. I just pulled my shirt off because they had to slap plaster on my chest in order to grow my breasts for those that ended up in the C's candy box. It was a surreal experience.
Well, it's interesting because conceptually,
a little chilly, which for the
both the real ones and the fake ones. But when you think of it conceptually, Tom's idea was that she literally matures both physically and emotionally during the movie. So it made a lot of sense.
And the red hair, though, and he doesn't even have an answer for that. It's like, I lose my virginity and my hair turns red. Figure. Okay.
Yeah. The novelization of the film makes it a point that Amanda's character keeps her adult body, even when she's no longer a vampiress.
Oh, I was in that white dress. I don't know. I thought the titties came off. I have to say. The titties came off, and so did the red wig. I'm just saying. So
I know. Just saying.
Nice idea, but
yeah, well, yeah, just that was his little his little version, as it were. So
I'll make my makeup story. I'll make it very quick. Mine was 8 hours, from 4 a.m. until noon, and then I'd go to work. Basically, it was the last section of the movie where Jerry is full Nosferatu kind of Fright Night, vampire. And the highlight of it really was working with Kenny Diaz, who was a madman. And who would literally, I'd walk into the makeup trailer and it would be deserted. And I'd go, hello, anybody? And suddenly I'd hear, let's get working. Hey, what do you say? Come on, let's go. Come on, buddy, let's get. I mean, just crazy.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's like in the makeup trailer. Ready for me.
Oh my. So, Roddy McDowell's made mention a couple times they really enjoyed making this film. Do you guys have any recollections of working with him?
Well, he was lovely. The thing, and I had not a lot of interaction with him, but the time that I did get to spend time with him and work opposite him, he was just so respectful of these little, we were just little baby actors, Billy and Stephen and I, and he treated us as equals, and he was iconic, and just the deepest, truest gentleman, and open, and wanting, just almost childlike in his sense of adventure in terms of approaching the project. It was lovely.
Yeah, he was very generous and accessible, as Amanda says, and he was just a fount of information about movies and who was who and what had happened, and Tom as well. I mean, Tom, could stand toe to toe really too, but Roddy had been there, and he'd gone to school with Elizabeth Taylor, as kids and stuff. So it was just to sort of be there and hear all of that information. Was priceless, and he was, and the fact that he was personally very generous and and engaged in all of that was just, it really could not have been any better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean, I can only second, third, fourth, and fifth these sentiments, because Roddy was the kind of guy who, once you got to know him, if he was in Prague, it was your birthday, you got a postcard. Yeah. Wherever he was, he sent you a card saying happy birthday. An extraordinary guy.
Absolutely outstanding. One final thing. when did you all begin to realize that that Fright Night had begun to develop a following that went a little bit beyond its release time? So, in other words, when did you suddenly say, "Hey, you're the person of Fright Night"?
Well, it really was the reunions. It was the convention world, this universe, galaxy, was just starting to really come out of only Star Wars. I mean, Star Trek. Star Trek conventions had been kind of
happening for a while. Yeah.
But in terms of it broadening and really becoming the industry that it has, we were kind of early on in that. And I think, look, we had so much fun making it. And we'd look at each other, and again, it was early in Stephen and Billy's and Jonathan's career, and just is it always this fun? Is this all? Because then we reunited, and literally it had been decades. It was immediate. It was that thing where we all got back together, and that energy was just popping again. And I really think that's where I came to realize, oh my gosh, this has a second generation of life. Because it's not gauged by residual, it's not gauged as television is by syndication, and it's just kind of kept going. I mean, that was now what 10 plus years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it's true for the Star Trek people too. I don't know, but in my experience, it seems like horror fans are just ferociously loyal. When they attach to something, it's forever. And this is, fortunately we were one of those that people just kind of connected with, and we are, it is on like the third generation of people now. And so that element, as Amanda said, I never would have known had it not been for the convention scene, for the con scene.
Yeah.
And it's just been, it's been an amazingly gratifying experience to go and to listen to people tell their stories about their encounters with the movie and what it means to them. And there are, people who watch it annually. My kids went to a preschool, and after 4 years, a woman came up and couldn't look me in the eye, a teacher who I'd worked with, and said, my family gets together and watches this movie every year. And I didn't know how to say that. I didn't know how to express that. I'm like, are you, we've cleaned toilets together at the preschool, how can you have that attitude? But, it's a special, deep, dear thing to a lot of them, and
it means a lot to us too. I think
absolutely, yeah. I mean,
and one of the things that I think needs to be expressed is an appreciation of the craft and the insight of Tom Holland, who first of all casted brilliantly, then had the foresight to rehearse the movie as if it were a play in a way, so that we all had very firm grounding in the characters. And what happens is that people invest themselves because they see themselves in these characters. They see themselves as being real human beings, except for Jerry, who was kind of a borderline. But and also that it had an appeal to both men and women for different reasons, which was also part of the craft of Tom's writing. The artistry, I should say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's resounding because it's a horror film, and horror films at that time were very exploitive, which the meta joke that Peter Vincent gives about, hacking ski masks and hacking off heads. It does not, it has no contempt for its audience. It absolutely loves the audience. It loves the characters, and the effects were above board.
It has fun with the genre, but doesn't make fun of it.
No, not at all. If anything, it elevates it in case of your character being a vampire who doesn't just by himself walk around, wakes up, yawning, eating the apples. These wonderful affectations that all your characters were given were just, it makes the movie a wonderful bit of magic. And speaking of magic, I think we've got enough questions now from our audience. So I'll ask Jude, our awesome producer, to go ahead and roll our first one. From Danae, since it was never revealed in the film, what type of creature did you think the character Billy Cole actually was?
Oh, where's John when we need him?
Oh,
Where's
that's
John?
like the red hair story. He's not sure. I think Tom it didn't matter the fact that he was just ghoulish.
Yeah.
But I don't know that Jonathan ever landed on an answer to that, did he?
No.
I think Tom describes him as a ghoul, which is, one of the more sort of, I guess, murky, characters in the horror genre. But he was like sort of a neophyte, in training, maybe vampire or something.
Yeah.
Like that, but
yeah, that he's not. Yeah, he's not. He hasn't reached the third level yet, or whatever the final level of vampirism is.
I think somebody described a ghoul as an intern vampire.
There you go.
He's doing his time. He stops aging, but whoever he's serving to is like, I'm going to keep you like this for 100 years or so, and then I'll promote you. So you're going to be doing my day business.
Right. As long as you have to keep getting your merit badges.
right, yeah.
And then when
it's like if a vampire takes a fancy to someone, they can promote them straight to the top.
Although some people think that Jerry took too much of a fancy. I don't.
No such thing. The fact that Jerry's fluid, there's nothing. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong.
Great. Today,
Jonathan is an inordinately gifted comedian.
Oh,
and his background is in the Groundlings, is in improv, and he brought all of that spirit. Again, there was this lightness of being with this project too, and that there was a lot of humanity. We didn't take ourselves too seriously. I mean, of course, Billy's Care Charley, he has to hold that. He has to hold that sort of moral compass for the entire picture, right? But all of it, I mean, it was Jerry. There's a lot of laughing, there's joking, there's teasing, and I think that's part of the relatability to it. And Jonathan he brought that magic as well.
Absolutely. Danae, thank you for that question. Jude, what do we have next? This comes from Crystal. If you could be a fantasy creature, which would you choose?
Crystal.
Wow.
You stopped us in our tracks.
I might like to be a little fairy, like live in a tree stump and come out at dusk is my favorite time of day. We call that fairy time, tween time.
Twilight, that sort of thing.
I hope there's a video of this. Because the look on your face, you lit up like a 4-year-old.
Like a fairy. You lit up like a little fairy.
Just went in. I went.
Fairy with red hair and
Sure, Chris. Okay.
It was wonderful, though, Stephen.
I'm not like a huge fantasy person, but if I could choose some kind of a creature, it would have a resemblance to a snake, I would say.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
That works.
Thank you, Voldemort.
I love snakes.
Okay, right on. Nothing wrong with that.
I would have to choose. I guess I would choose a hobbit just because I like to eat and sleep and and chill, work in the garden.
Absolutely.
Terrible answer. Terrible answer.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a pot belly and hairy feet. So yes, I guess that is the obvious choice.
Well, it kind of goes with your. Well, I won't talk about your feet. I have no fantasy life whatsoever.
Yeah,
I guess I could be like a gypsy king or something. I wear an earring, so maybe that.
You'd make a great pumpkin king.
Thank you. That's it. What's this?
Crystal, thank you for that one.
Yeah, we've never had that question, y'all. That's a new one.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, Jude? What do we have next? This one from Teddy. He would love to know about deleted scenes that did not make the film.
Don't think there were any.
I don't know.
There was not a lot of fat to trim. Like as Chris explained, Tom knew
Yeah.
From beginning to end. Yeah.
Vision, literally.
Shot by shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he knew it wanted to be. He wanted it to be. It was his first directorial work. He had done screenwriting that had gotten on screen. That is, he'd done Hollywood screenwriting, but he wanted to make sure that this movie got on screen, that it wasn't nitpicked and pulled apart by the studio. And and luckily, the studio had other fish to fry, or that is, there were other projects going on that they basically didn't bug Tom much at all during this movie. And he shot the movie that he wanted to shoot, and it was the script that I saw originally.
Yeah.
I don't think it changed much. Do you guys?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it was. They were busy with the Neil Simon's The Sluggard's Wife. That was what they were all looking at.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. The same year. It's like 1939, right? It's like all these great movies.
Teddy, thank you for that. Jude, what's next? From James. Do you consider Fright Night more horror or campy comedy?
I don't think it's campy, to tell you the truth, James.
Not at all.
I think it's because that does speak to what Chris was saying about, we didn't make fun of it. It's not a parody. We didn't make fun of the genre. We had fun in it. And I think, and spending a lot of time in my career in comedy, that if you play to the comedy, you're not going to get it. But if you play to the truth of the situation and the relationships and the circumstance, there comes the humor. And
the writing is there. Yeah.
I mean, it has a kitschiness about it because it was an 80s film. It has that sort of framework to it, which can play around a little bit, but if you want to call that campy, but it's really, it was made when it was made, but the story is going to be told anytime. Kind of.
Yeah, by 80s standards too, it was completely innocent. I mean, it was, there wasn't a lot of arch anything in it. I mean, it was pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah, I think William Katz's film House would fall into the campy category.
Love at First Bite.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Trying to think of anything else.
What was the one that
this was kind of a reaction in Tom's mind to those movies.
Right. Yeah.
He loved the genre, and he felt that it had fallen on hard times, and he wanted to bring it back, but bring it back in a contemporary way, albeit an 80s contemporary way.
I think he greatly succeeded.
Yep.
We do that. Well, James, we hope we answer that question for you.
Thank you, James.
Yes. What's we have next? From Kevin. Did any of you keep anything from the set? Well, we know what Amanda kept.
I did it.
Amanda, did you snag anything else?
No, really.
Okay.
It wasn't really any wardrobe that I wanted. That bow at the beginning.
Your Rosemary bow.
Bow in her hair. She's 16. No.
I think I kept all of my clothes and wore them till they wore out, I think. But that's pretty much it. I mean, my jacket and my pants and shirt, and
wore them in real life.
And I wore them in real life. Yeah, I was a poor actor, and those were free clothes. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess every movie's different, but they let me keep pretty much all of my costumes, which was nice.
That jacket, that was really cool.
Yeah,
the army jacket. Yeah,
and I've outgrown all of it, but that's okay. Yeah.
I kept a lot of Jerry's clothes, some of the sweaters, some of the trousers, because Tom and I went and shopped for Jerry with the costume designer. And who was the costume designer? Do you guys remember?
The gentleman.
Mort.
I remember Mort was the dresser, I think.
He was the dresser. I'm not sure I remember.
Well, at any rate, we went shopping, and I kept some of that stuff, and then over the years, it just kind of, your wardrobe changes, and so did Jerry's. Although, do you guys remember the coffin box that we all got from Guy Marlin? I still have that.
Yeah,
I do too. I've lost the things that were in it, though. Wasn't there a little bitty?
There were fangs and a little stake, a little
stake and a cross.
And it had a little plaque on top of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's from Guy McElwain, I think.
He was the head of the studio at the time.
Yeah.
Right. Chris, please tell me you kept the trench coat.
No,
Oh,
I did not. Not something you could really wear in the street.
that's true.
Well,
Those
depending-
days are behind it.
depending on the
You know
street.
what?
You have nothing under it. Again, none of us are wearing pants right now.
That's true.
True that. And a reminder to our audience, if you'd like to chat with our panelists like I am now, purchase an autograph or get a personalized recorded message, please head on over to GalaxyCon.com and go ahead and sign up. And Jude, let's go ahead and run another one. Thank you for that. Last one, James. From Paula, if Jerry had not died, what would he be doing now?
He'd be running a men's clothing store in Pacoima, California. Very trendy, kind of happening stuff. He'd probably have an interest in a disco because he had a great experience at the disco in the movie. And the store would open during the daytime.
There you go.
He might be ambassador to Transylvania or something.
That's
Romanian ambassador or something.
One of the favorite things tangentially that ever happened to me was that I was back in Los Angeles doing something else. I was living on the East Coast and back with my family. We were in a house and the family was away. I can't remember what they were doing, my kids and my ex. And a cable guy came to the house because the cable was out, and he worked there all day. And he was there, never said a word to me. And I was doing stuff around the house. And when the time came for me to sign the receipt, he walked over and he handed me the invoice. And as I'm signing, I'm hearing, "I'm surprised you come out in the daytime."
God.
That's the legacy of the movie. This was like years later.
And I like that.
Not a word until then. He's been saving it all day.
Gracious. Paula, thank you for that one. All right. What's next? For Lisa. Was the club radio dance scene difficult to get just right? There are so many people in that scene, and she was curious how long it took to complete.
Those were harder days. I
Yeah.
think I would qualify it as that because there was an enormous amount of extras. I mean, it was not about CGIing bodies in that warehouse where we were. There were a lot of people, and there were a lot of little details. I can remember watching the scene where the big guy gets hit and slides across the floor, and they had him on a kind of wide skateboard. Remember that? And so that he could actually, what do you do? Pick him up and throw him?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was so involved. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, how many days were we there? That was right around Christmas time. How many days? And it was downtown, pretty seedy
Yeah.
It was
town.
at least 2 weeks.
Oh,
And
wow.
a lot of smoke at that time. Atmosphere was,
Every set was filled with smoke.
and it's not as refined as it is now. There were pallets. And so, I mean, there were challenges to doing that, but it was actually a big sequence in the movie.
And when you
That
think,
warehouse.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, there was, and probably a prime example of that, there were no CGI effects in the movie. They were all practical effects.
Yes.
For the fans out there, nothing was produced in a computer. And one of the effects was when Amanda and I are dancing and we're doing that sort of turn step in front of the mirror, and I appear and disappear and appear and disappear. That was all done. You know, you had to do it one step at a time. I did it. She did it. We did it together. She did it without me. I mean, it was, and by the numbers, it had to be done very specifically in a particular way.
And that was just purely editing. The editing of it makes it work. You know, there's no tricks.
Mhm,
I was
absolutely.
glad by that time I got to have the bow out of my hair. Remember? I got a little bit better. Anyway, it was actually there. And I do remember that scene when we're going down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about a stampede of humanity.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to look like crazy mass exodus. Well, it was.
Wow.
It was. We had to shoot that a few times, and there were some bruises and things like that. But again, it's great storytelling that's happening in that scene. So with not a lot of real exposition and not a lot of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about just watching what's happening.
Things were happening.
Uh-huh.
Right. And we did some choreography rehearsals. Amanda and I did with, I can't remember the choreographer's name, a woman.
I can't either.
Yeah, the sequence was pretty involved. Lisa, if that answers your question.
Indeed. Thank you for that one, Lisa. And Jude, what's next? From Dean. Were any of you horror fans before starring in Fright Night? If so, what horror films did you enjoy?
No.
Well, think about it.
Steve?
I really love, I guess, horror / suspense films, such as Silence of the Lambs and The Birds. I love Alfred Hitchcock movies, but none of the like hockey mask type thing. Yeah,
I like I like Stephen. I think I like spooky more than graphic. So anything with a haunted house is usually pretty good for me. And I grew up. My dad had a drugstore, and I grew up reading eerie and creepy magazines. So I was a fan of those, and the Christopher Lee movies that would come through the movie house, every now and again, and also on television. Night Gallery was a favorite of mine, and the Night Stalker and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it.
I was a big fan of the old Hollywood quote unquote horror movies, Dracula. The Dracula sequels, the Bela Lugosi movies, the both Frankenstein movies, the James Whale Frankenstein movies were extraordinary to me. There's also a movie called, a more contemporary, although it's from the 80s, I think, called Don't Look Now, which is a movie directed by a guy who was a cinematographer, Nicholas Roeg, who Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie.
I saw that when I was very young. It was very provocative and
frightening in a much more sort of psychological way.
Yeah.
Creepy. A couple loses their young daughter in an accident, and then there's a haunting sort of element to it. It's very scary. That's my favorite horror movie, by the way. Horror movie, quote unquote.
I'm not more like with Stephen about it. I like Hitchcock. I like the
Hitchcock.
I like the suspense rather than the.
Yeah.
Psycho, although Psycho is pretty fucking amazing. Pardon the expression.
Yeah, no.
Well, Dean, we hope we have given you a new watch list. Thank you for that. Let's see what we have next. From Teddy. Question of the whole cast. What is their favorite song in the movie? There's been given up by Evelyn Champagne King.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
What's the song? I don't know if it's the soundtrack or whatever the song is when it transitions in the nightclub scene and it goes to that. I can't say, but I don't know the title of it. But that song I identify with Fright Night when that change happens in the dance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what song it was though.
Yeah.
You guys have one?
Not really. I'll confess that I wasn't really nuts about the title song, the Fright Night song, and I know it's it was the main thing, but I don't know. I felt like it didn't. I don't know. It seemed kind of poppy or teen poppy, but I guess that was the point. But
it was silly because it was.
Now it comes out.
Well, yeah. And it's not because I submitted my own songs for the soundtrack, that they didn't choose. But I just didn't.
The archives now.
Well, I do my stage show, of course.
Yeah.
So no, but
this is, by the way, Patty and fans. This is the way it gets when we get together.
Yeah,
we start on each other, and it's just we have a great time. We enjoy each other's company.
Absolutely. With that, Teddy, thank you for that. What do we have next? from Shann to the whole cast, what was your favorite scene that you did in the movie?
Well, we all talk a lot about the one where we were all together, where we're at Jerry's house, and that was, I think, the one and only scene where we were all
with Roddy and
together. And as Tom says, we were kind of like bad children that day, that we were giggling and not maybe as focused as we should get this little movie to do. So, we did have to sort of get wrangled a little bit. But it was great. It was just great being on set with everyone.
Steve?
I loved the scene where I get invited into Roddy's apartment after I had been bitten, and I get to rough him up a little bit. That was very enjoyable.
A little.
Here to tell his side of the story.
And not just because of that, but the where it was in the story of the film and the arc of the plot. It was very, very exciting, really fun scene to play out.
Yeah, that's the scene where Ed really changes sides, and
exactly.
And I can see that being fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Billy?
I would say I would probably say the group scene also inside the house, because the set was amazing. I mean, the set was like Jerry's house was like a house you would want to stay in, and it was fun to be around everybody and to be in that in that set and to commune with everybody as well. So I enjoyed that a lot.
Absolutely.
No, I'm gonna give you mine. I have these guys just talk, and I'm just gonna come. I love Stephen's scene where he changes, where he's staked, and the scene plays out where you see him metamorphose. It's so heartbreaking. That scene, and Steve plays it so beautifully, and so does Roddy. The reactions of Roddy and Steve getting, I think it's an extraordinary scene.
Absolutely. And no, I was saying, and then the pangs of guilt and sympathy he feels for Ed after he's like staked him. He's really, and Steve, you really knocked it out of the park in that scene as well.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, it's my favorite. My second favorite scene is at the very beginning with Peter Vincent's the clip of his old movie. He's chasing after the vampire lady, but he's holding the stake the wrong way. The pointy way to it. He's saying, So.
And that was an accident?
Was it?
Yes, that was not on purpose. Roddy held it the wrong way, but then because it was brilliant.
I didn't know that. I thought that was
no. There was probably more than one take of that scene, and script supervisor said, you got it.
I think you're holding it the wrong way, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. McDowell.
Shann, thank you for that. We have time for one more from our audience, so let's go ahead and pick what we got left. From Michael, what was your recollection of seeing the film for the first time?
Well, we had a screening in Los Angeles. That was my first experience with something like that, so that was pretty exciting. It's an industry audience, so you're not getting necessarily the real feel. And I do remember going down to Hollywood Boulevard to the Egyptian Theater to see it there, right? It was Billy, Stephen, were you in town?
No, I was in New York.
Too, or just you and me, Billy?
I think Tom was there. Didn't we go out to dinner or something before the screening or something? I don't know.
In the afternoon, but it was really exciting to kind of creep in the back and watch a real audience respond to it. And to me, that was the most validating, was to hear the reactions and people talking back to the screen.
Yeah.
And, people get very alive with those movies.
Yeah, that was very much my first experience, because you don't see a movie that you're in an objective way when you're looking at it at a screening. It just doesn't happen. You know, you're looking at everything you did and you're going, oh my God, why did I do that? And that. But, you know, the first time I saw it, I thought the movie was wonderful. But when I saw it with an audience, it just blew my mind. Blew my mind.
Yeah, I just felt such admiration for all of the work that had been done post-production into making it what it was. It just really blew my expectations out of the park. You know, so some movies that you do don't quite turn out as good as you would like, but this one just definitely met all the expectations.
Definitely delivered.
Yes, it did.
It's a good ride.
Yeah.
Really, it's like that. It's sort of like you jump and go and you don't get off until, and then it was like, what was that? And it really had a wonderful pace and energy to it. And I think some of that is the comedy in it, the humanity in it. But boy, when it needed to be intense, when it needed to hit those moments with Chris and Steven, when that horror element, that was the genre, but it just was rich with a lot of other things.
It's a delightful roller coaster in a haunted house. I heard it described as once. So me too.
Yeah.
Indeed. GalaxyCon viewers, this has been the cast of Fright Night, and that was my time, but it does not have to be yours. If you'd like to chat with our panelists or purchase an autograph or get a personalized recorded message, please head over to GalaxyCon.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out our schedule of upcoming events just like this one. Panelists, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for showing me your recollections. Any final thoughts for our audience?
Thanks for being with us.
Yes,
Thank you
thanks,
so
man.
much.
And
Thank you for
you
being
know,
here.
everyone, stay safe. Don't get overconfident with what's going on out in the world.
Yep.
Someday in the not too distant future, we can see each other in person again.
Absolutely. Amen.
Absolutely, absolutely. We look so forward to having you again on our stages in front of your fans. Everyone, audience, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for those great questions. We hope to see you again today at 2 o'clock. We'll be joined by the cast of The Flash. And next weekend, GalaxyCon Live will be hosting guests from Star Trek, Power Rangers, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, and a lot more. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care and keep washing those hands.
Right.